A bacterial infection, anthrax, is a disease mostly manifested in livestock animal, but can be transmitted to humans, hence the need for caution in dealing with livestock. An outbreak of anthrax is considered a danger to the social and economic livelihood of any community. With the case detected in Suleja, Niger State, DateLine 360 today examines the situation in the state and government's intervention to prevent a spread, as well as create more awareness on the deadly zoonotic disease. I am Amotala Mojala. Stay with us. The confirmation of anthrax in Gajiri community in Suleja Emirate of Niger State has made Nigeria the fourth country with the zoonotic disease in West Africa. The first case was detected in Ghana, followed by Burkina Faso and Togo. Musa Aliu now takes a look at the disease, how it got into the country, and measures to curb the spread.
The entire West Africa was put on alert on the 28th of June 2023 when outbreak of anthrax was reported in Burkina Faso, Togo and Ghana. The outbreak came at a time when there was a large movement of animals across the West Africa for Salah festival.
We do normally buy from Nigeria and Chad when it comes to like a market like Niadua, like Jibia. They bring their goat from there to that market because the market is very close. Then we buy from there.
Yes, this disease we are telling you about.
This ignited an awareness campaign across livestock markets, particularly to warn livestock merchants importing sick animals. When the focus was on the marketplace, an animal farm on the other side was allegedly received rams from one of the neighboring countries. This is the farm where the first case of anthrax was detected on the 17th of July 2023. The farm is located here in Gajiri community under Suleja Emirate Council. The question is, how does the bacteria get into the farm?
It could be perhaps from somewhere infected area, and which led to eventual introduction into the country and perhaps into the farm that we are talking about. You know, there are a lot of influx of animal, particularly during festivity. You never can tell where this particular animal comes from.
10 animals, including cows and sheep, were found dead on the farm, while laboratory tests confirmed that the animals died of anthrax. NTA DateLine 360 was unable to establish or confirm the reports that some sick animals from the farm were sold out before the farm was put under quarantine. More so, veterinary officers from both federal and state governments did not confirm or refute the allegation.
Anthrax is a zoonotic disease, meaning that it affects both humans and animals. So this disease, when it affects animals, it can be transmitted to humans. So it's very important for NCDC to be part of this response. That is why we are here with the colleagues from Federal Ministry of Agri and also the State Ministry of Agri for this response.
Okay, so do we have a case of animal to human transmission so far since the outbreak?
Actually, we don't have any case of transmission yet. However, it's always paramount for us to start preparing in case we do have that.
Veterinary officers are of the view that Nigeria has a long way to go in preventing zoonotic diseases such as anthrax, avian influenza and Lassa fever. This is because animals are usually kept in dirty and unhygienic environments, and there is a lack of effective animal profiling and screening before slaughtering.
The case we have in the country actually happened in Niger State, in Suleja local government to be specific. We are doing a ring vaccination around 12-kilometer radius of the point of the farm where we had the outbreak. Well, for now, we don't pray that we should have any more outbreaks, but plans are on. We will definitely be going for a national vaccination campaign, hopefully, after finishing with Niger State.
There were no reported cases of anthrax in any part of the country for now. However, the federal government, through the Federal Ministry of Agriculture, has mobilized resources towards ensuring that all animals around border areas are vaccinated against anthrax. Musa Aliyu, DateLine 360.
Focusing on the health implication of the disease in animals and humans, particularly among nomadic herders, Olagunju Oriyomi looks at the level of awareness about anthrax in Niger State, even as efforts by federal and state governments progress in healthcare and information.
Anthrax, a rare but severe bacterial infection which naturally occur in soil and commonly affects domestic animals such as cows, sheep and goats, as well as wild animals around the world. The age-long bacteria, also known as Bacillus anthracis, was reportedly first discovered in about 150 years ago and has since been in existence. It can be transmitted to humans when they come in contact with infected animals or contaminated animal products.
It has a degree of symptoms from fever, anorexia, lack of appetite, weakness, and sometimes it's fatal.
It's been a long-standing thing that happens, but it's not a new disease. It's been identified in animals in several countries. It is better not to even touch the animal at all, because that is where transmission to human beings occur. Those animals are supposed to be disposed, not to be slaughtered, or for human consumption. Human beings can contact it through inhalation, what you eat, and of course it can also affect the skin. The anthrax can affect the skin and appear like ulcer. You can have the skin infection, you can have the intestinal infection, you can have the respiratory infection. So these are the possible routes that it will manifest.
Since anthrax rarely occurs, investigations revealed that livestock agents, including nomadic herders and butchers in Suleja local government area of Niger State and its environs, where the first case of its recent re-emergence was recorded, are unaware of the animal disease and its effects, with the majority of the people of the cosmopolitan town also seems to be unperturbed with its health implications.
Not in human being. We have just received the news of the outbreak in one of the animal farms in a village in Suleja.
I live in Suleja here. So about the sickness that is around that is going around now, though I don't know anything about it now for now.
With the little I understand, I found out that the disease is being spread by cows.
Cow meat, let's say, is a general meat here.
I've not heard of it.
Normally have doctor that used to check our meat in quarter before we veterinary doctors.
We don't know anything about anthrax. We don't have veterinary doctors in Suleja. We need help. We only rely on cattle rearing as source of livelihood.
The cheering news, however, is that relevant ministries at both federal and state level have since swung into action by intensifying campaigns on dangers associated with anthrax among humans and animals across the strategic locations, while mass vaccination of animals in and around the affected local government areas is still ongoing.
Federal government and the state government, in collaboration with the Ministry of Health and various stakeholders, moved ahead and said go for advocacy and sensitization, vaccinations, and all the measures necessary, including the contact tracing, to be able to contain this particular disease.
The government has provided funds for even surveillance activities. The state government has provided funds for 400,000 more doses of vaccine. Tactical ring vaccination. Suleja is the epicenter, so we'll concentrate more on Suleja. With this event now, they'll get to see the rationale for more veterinary staff, employ more staff, more doctors, more animal health workers too.
it can be treated with antibiotics. We have spaces for isolation. We just hope that it will be curtailed among the animals.
Infectious diseases like anthrax may seem to be unavoidable, hence the adoption of strategies available to help humans from contracting infectious diseases by following guidelines provided by government and practicing self-hygiene. Olagunju Oriyomi, NTA News.
That their educational deprivation is not the end of the world.
Agencies and stakeholders to proactively tackle these challenges.
Women in most countries of the world constitute about 50% of registered voters.
Kevin Williams reporting for DateLine 360.
In Jos, Caleb Gochin, DateLine 360.
DateLine 360. Shidi Okrafo.
For DateLine 360.
In Lagos, Michael Olaleye.
Reporting for DateLine 360.
I am Omosola Omojola. Thanks for tuning in. Where a transmittable disease like anthrax is detected, the neighboring communities are mostly at risk of infection. From Kwara, a boundary state of Niger State, Aisha Abubakar Yahaya examines precautionary measures being put in place by the Kwara State government to avert a possible spread of anthrax into the state.
The Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development and the Nigerian Center for Disease Control's confirmation of anthrax in Niger State is the first animal case to be reported in Nigeria since the beginning of the West Africa outbreak of the deadly disease in Ghana in June this year. Following this report, samples were collected from multiple species in the affected livestock farm and transported to the National Veterinary Research Institute, Plateau State, for testing, and the results were positive for anthrax.
We have our surveillance system in place. We have our community informants in all the wards of the state. We have our surveillance officers, our disease surveillance and notification officer, who again are already aware. And of course, we pass messages to them time to time. We hold meetings to sensitize them on some of the key priority disease, so that when they have any of this within their wards, within their community, we are alerted in real time.
With Kwara State sharing a very close boundary with Niger State, it becomes worrisome to know that the disease can have easy access to Kwara State, and as such requires urgent attention to ensure every individual has knowledge in identifying anthrax either in animals or any human that could have contracted it.
It forms what we call spore, that is heat resistant. What we by heat resistant is that if you cook them, it may not die. If you expose them to the sun, they may not die, and they can stay for a longer period. So that kind of disease is better to avoid touching the infected animal than to be at risk of getting the disease.
With experts identifying consumption of beef, bushmeat and cow skin, among others, as the major way of contracting anthrax, I visited a popular abattoir in Ilorin, the Kwara State capital, where the Kwara State chairman, National Butchers Union of Nigeria, Saliu Dangote, told me how fully aware and enlightened they are, and that no cow will be slaughtered for public consumption without being examined by a team of veterinary doctors as healthy.
We have the veterinary people around us. They inspect the cow before the killing, and after the killing they inspect it. So that's one of the most important measures that is being put in place here.
But then, how well can residents of Ilorin identify anthrax in all sorts of meats they consume?
In subclinically healed animal that is not dead yet, they will see high fever. There's going to be a very high fever, okay? And the animal will be very weak, will be already down, okay? Then there's going to be blood coming out from the nose, from the mouth, okay? Even from the anus.
What we perform here is ante-mortem and post-mortem meat inspection. Ante-mortem, that is before the animals are being slaughtered. We observe them from a distance. We check for their gaits. We observe any lacrimations, ocular discharges, whatsoever that could indicate disease conditions. Then we move closer to observe the animals and perform a more detailed exam. We also perform post-mortem examination.
I have heard about it because that is why I prefer buying meat here for another place, because this place we have veterinary doctor, they check meat, they check everything. If the cow is not okay, they won't let us kill it here.
I do buy the cow myself, then I kill it myself, and before even killing it at all, we have some veterinaries here that you do always check the cow before we even slaughter it.
In as much as both the federal and state governments are intensifying efforts and raising surveillance to prevent further outbreak of anthrax across the country, it is also very important for everyone to come together and fight this deadly disease, as prevention, they say, is better and cheaper than cure. Aisha Abubakar Yahaya for DateLine 360.
From awareness creation to vaccination, a lot of efforts are in place to prevent an outbreak of anthrax in Nigeria. Experts, however, say failure to eradicate the disease poses a threat to the country's livestock market, which is worth more than 30 trillion naira. Muplang Dakop reports on the possible economic downside of anthrax to agribusiness in Nigeria.
Anthrax disease is caused by bacteria and happens naturally in soil. It is said to affect livestock and wildlife, such as cattle, pigs, goats, as well as humans. Public researchers believe that cases of the disease are chronically underreported both in people and animals. Statistics show that in Nigeria, 10,000 cows, including sheep and goats, are slaughtered daily for protein. In the third quarter of 2022, the contribution of livestock production to Nigeria's GDP experienced an increase of 1.55%, which is why in economic terms, experts fear that a breakout of anthrax can pose a huge loss to agribusiness in Nigeria and to GDP.
So animals may die as a result of anthrax. You can begin to imagine the number of animals that can potentially die from this particular outbreak. Now, aside from the animal dying, which is a huge loss of revenue for the farmers and people within the industry, anthrax can lead to trade restrictions and ban on the export of meat from affected countries. Already in Nigeria, we have a problem exporting meat.
The United Nations Commercial Trade Database on International Trade shows that Nigeria's exports of raw hides and skins and leather was $92.18 million in 2021. Experts say the disease can impact the production, consumption, and sales of hides and skin, as well as other consumables like beef, sausage, minced meat, as well as other food snacks within the beef value chain.
There's also the loss of the animal product, that is the meat, the milk, the wool, the skin, which then is converted to leather.
With the news of an impending outbreak of the anthrax disease in Nigeria, a livestock expert speaks on some of the measures that can be adopted to keep the livestock value chain safe and marketable in the country.
Vaccination, it's a very effective way for preventing anthrax in animals. Good hygiene practice, quarantine. Anthrax can survive in animal carcasses and the environment for years. So there is a proper way for disposal of dead animal.
For the World Health Organization, the effects of the anthrax disease is a reduction in efficiency, where input or resources are converted into output, which means reduced productivity. Experts say the effects of the anthrax disease on the economy can be so severe that it could lead to either temporal or even permanent closure of abattoirs, thereby affecting the cattle market and the economy at large. For DateLine 360, Muplang Dakok, NTA News.
We can't be too careful when it comes to diseases like anthrax. We appreciate all those working to ensure that the disease doesn't go out of the farm where it was identified, and we plead for greater vigilance in the interest of all. I'm Motola Mojola. On behalf of the production crew, I say thank you for your time. May God bless Nigeria.